You are sitting in your living room right now, lights on, phone charging, fridge humming. Everything is fine. Everything is normal. And somewhere in a control room 3 states away, a transformer is overheating. Let me ask you something. If the power went out tonight and stayed out, not for 6 hours, not for 3 days, but permanently, what is your actual plan? Not the vague idea in the back of your head. Your actual physical, tangible plan. Here is the uncomfortable truth. 99% of households in this country would be in serious trouble within 72 hours. Not because people are stupid, because nobody told them what they actually need. Hollywood sold you a lie. The disaster movie where the hero improvises everything and somehow survives on willpower and good looks. That is fiction. Real grid failure is quiet and slow and absolutely merciless. Today, I am going to walk you through 18 specific items, not 100, not a vague category list. 18 items that form the functional backbone of your household survival plan when the electrical grid goes dark for good. These are not luxury preps. These are the difference between making it and not making it. If you want to be part of the 1% who actually has a shot when the grid fails, hit subscribe. Drop a comment below with the one item you already have stocked. Let us get tactical. Let us start with the foundation. The single most critical resource any human being needs to stay alive is water. Not food. Water. You can survive 3 weeks without food. You cannot survive 3 days without water, and in a grid-down scenario, your municipal water system stops working within hours as pressure fails and pumping stations go offline. The standard recommendation is 1 gallon per person per day. That is bare minimum, drinking and basic sanitation only. For a family of 4, you are looking at storing a minimum 60-gallon baseline just to get through 2 weeks. That sounds like a lot until you realize a 60-gallon water barrel costs less than a dinner out. Buy the barrel. But stored water is only item 1. Item 2 is a water filtration system, specifically a gravity-fed ceramic or multi-stage filter that needs 0 electricity and 0 replacement batteries. A quality gravity filter can process hundreds of gallons before needing service, removing bacteria, protozoa, and most chemical contaminants from surface water sources. Your city thinks it is protecting your water supply, and it is, right up until the moment the generators at the treatment plant run out of diesel and the grid does not come back. At that point, every creek, every rain barrel, every swimming pool in your neighborhood becomes a potential water source. Without filtration, it becomes a death sentence. Now let us talk about food. And I am not talking about a 6-month supply of freeze-dried camping meals. I am talking about calorie-dense, shelf-stable, rotation-friendly food that your household already eats. Item 3 is white rice, not brown rice. White. Brown rice goes rancid in months. White rice sealed properly lasts 25 years and delivers roughly 360 calories per dry cup. Item 4 is dried beans. Beans are the protein backbone of any serious long-term food plan. 1 pound of dried beans runs you over 1,500 calories and delivers more protein per dollar than almost anything else in a grocery store. Lentils, black beans, pinto beans, rotate them, cook them, know how to make them taste like something before you need to survive on them. Item 5 is cooking oil. This one gets overlooked constantly. Oil is not just a cooking medium, it is pure caloric density. 1 tablespoon of olive oil is about 120 calories. When you are burning energy to stay warm, carry water, chop wood, and keep watch, you need fat in your diet or your body starts breaking down muscle. Store coconut oil if you want maximum shelf life. It can last over 2 years at room temperature. Item 6 is salt. This one sounds almost too simple, and that is exactly why people skip it. Salt does 3 things in a survival situation. It flavors food that would otherwise be almost inedible after weeks of repetition. It preserves meat and vegetables when refrigeration is gone, and it is a critical electrolyte your body loses when you sweat hard. A 5-pound bag of salt costs less than $2 and stores indefinitely. Buy 10 of them right now. Now here is where most preppers get it completely wrong. They stock food and water and then forget that the human body is not just a calorie processing machine. It is a complex biological system that breaks down in very specific ways under stress, injury, and deprivation. Item 7 is a comprehensive first aid kit, and I do not mean a plastic box with some bandages and a tube of antibiotic ointment. I mean a kit with hemostatic gauze treated with a clotting agent that can stop arterial bleeding in seconds. I mean a tourniquet, a real one, a CAT or soft ETW, not a rubber band. I mean an Israeli pressure bandage, gloves, a CPR mask, a suture kit if you know how to use it, and a blister treatment protocol. Because blisters become infections, and infections become amputations when there is no hospital in the picture. Item 8 is prescription medication. If anyone in your household takes a daily medication, you need a 30-day minimum buffer supply at all times. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your pharmacist. Most insurance plans allow a 90-day supply for maintenance medications. Get it. Because when the grid goes down, the pharmaceutical supply chain collapses faster than almost anything else in the distribution network. Item 9 is a manual can opener. You can have 1,000 cans of food in your basement and die of starvation because you forgot a $7 hand tool. This sounds like a joke. It is not a joke. It is one of the most common, most embarrassing, and most preventable failures in emergency preparedness. Buy 3. Keep 1 in your kit, 1 in your vehicle, 1 in your go bag. Let us talk about fire. Fire is warmth. Fire is water purification. Fire is cooked food. Fire is light. Fire is morale. When the grid goes dark in February and you are in a house with no gas and no electricity, fire is the difference between a survivable situation and a lethal one. Item 10 is fire starting capability. And this means redundancy, not just a single lighter in a junk drawer. A Bic lighter works until it is empty or wet. A ferrocerium rod works in rain, in wind, at altitude, after being submerged in a river crossing. Waterproof matches as backup to the backup. And dry tinder, fat wood, cotton balls coated in petroleum jelly, commercial tinder cubes, stored in a sealed bag. You want to be able to make fire in the dark with cold hands under stress. Practice this before you need it. Item 11 is a reliable light source system. Here is the thing. Flashlights are great, but batteries die faster than you expect. In a true long-term grid failure, you will burn through your battery supply within weeks. The smarter play is layering. LED headlamps with rechargeable batteries and a small solar charging panel, at least 2 hand-crank emergency flashlights that need 0 batteries, and bulk candles stored with proper holders. Ventilation matters when burning candles indoors for extended periods. Item 12 is a battery-powered or hand-crank emergency radio with no AA weather band capability. Here is why this matters more than most people understand. In a grid-down scenario, information is a survival resource. Knowing that a government convoy is distributing supplies 10 miles north, knowing that a contaminated water source has been identified in your district, knowing whether the failure is regional or national, that intelligence shapes every decision you make. Without information, you are operating blind. You are making life or death decisions based on rumor and panic instead of verified intelligence. A $35 hand crank radio with solar backup changes that entirely. Keep fresh batteries in it. Test it twice a year. Know which frequencies your local emergency services broadcast on before an emergency happens. This is not optional. Now I want to talk about something most preparedness channels skip because it feels uncomfortable. Financial infrastructure. Item 13 is physical cash in small denominations. When the grid fails, electronic payment systems fail with it. ATMs go offline. Point-of-sale terminals shut down. Whatever digital wealth you have, savings accounts, investment portfolios, digital wallets, becomes completely inaccessible. The cash economy persists longer than people think in the early stages of a crisis. People will still trade goods and services for dollars because the collapse feels temporary in the first week. Having $500 in small bills, 1s, 5s, 10s, gives you options in that early window that the people around you simply will not have. After that window closes, you transition to a barter economy. But by then, your stockpile is what matters. Item 14 is your documents. Physical copies, not cloud backups, not digital scans on a phone, stored in a waterproof, fireproof container. Driver's licenses, passports, birth certificates, medical records, insurance policies, property deeds, vehicle titles, vaccination records. In a collapse scenario, these documents become your identity, your proof of ownership, and your negotiating tools with whatever administrative infrastructure survives the transition. Item 15 is a multi-tool and a basic hand tool set. And I need to be specific here because this matters. A quality multi-tool, Leatherman or equivalent, is not a toy. It is a compact, durable piece of engineering that covers pliers, wire cutters, a knife, screwdrivers, and a saw in a package that fits in a pocket. Beyond that, a handsaw, a hatchet or camp axe, a pry bar, and a basic socket wrench set give you the ability to repair, fortify, and adapt your environment without electricity. Here is the physics that people consistently ignore. Every repair, every construction task, every fortification you need in a grid-down world will require manual labor with hand tools. The person who can fix a door hinge, patch a roof, reinforce a window frame, and split firewood is exponentially more valuable to their household and to any survival group than the person who cannot. Skills compound tools. But you need the tools first before the skills have any surface to work with. Item 16 is sanitation and hygiene supplies. This category kills more people in disaster scenarios than almost anything else, and it is the least glamorous part of preparedness, which is exactly why most people skip it entirely. Waterborne illness, infected wounds, respiratory disease spread through contamination. These are the mass killers in every extended collapse throughout recorded history. Unscented chlorine bleach for water treatment and surface disinfection. Store at least 4 gallons of it. Bar soap, not liquid. Bar soap lasts longer, does not require plastic waste management, and works with cold water. Disposable gloves, heavy-duty garbage bags in large quantity, feminine hygiene products, dental care supplies. And calcium hypochlorite pool shock, concentrated bleach granules that store for decades and can treat thousands of gallons of water for a fraction of the cost of liquid bleach. Item 17 is heirloom seeds. And I want to address the eye roll I can feel coming through the screen right now. Seeds are not a hippie prepper fantasy. They are a renewable food infrastructure. The difference between heirloom seeds and hybrid seeds is simple. Heirloom seeds reproduce true. You can harvest seeds from this year's crop and plant them next year. Hybrid seeds do not do that reliably. You are locked into buying new seeds every season. In a long-term grid failure, there is no seed store. A basic heirloom seed kit covering tomatoes, squash, beans, corn, carrots, kale, and root vegetables gives you the foundation of a food system that can sustain a household indefinitely if you have the knowledge and the land to work with. Even container gardening on a back porch changes your caloric math significantly over a 12-month timeline. Seeds take up almost no space. They weigh almost nothing. The upside is enormous. Store them sealed in a cool, dry place, and they remain viable for 3 to 7 years, longer if you keep them in a refrigerator or freezer before the grid fails. Item 18 is a written communications and emergency contact plan, not a digital one. Physical paper. Here's the scenario I want you to think about right now. The grid fails while your spouse is at work, your kid is at school, and you are at home. Cell networks are overloaded within 30 minutes and go dark within hours. How does your family reunite? What is the actual protocol? Your written plan needs to include a primary and secondary meeting location that every family member knows by heart, not on a phone in their head. It needs to include out-of-state contact numbers written on paper, because local circuits jam but long distance sometimes pushes through. It needs a decision tree. If you cannot reach the primary location in 4 hours, go to the secondary. If the secondary is compromised, go to the fallback. And it needs your vehicle fuel protocol. Never let the tank drop below half, because when gas stations lose power, the pumps go offline immediately. Now let us talk about where most people will fail with this list. Not because the items are wrong, because they will buy everything once, stack it in a corner, and forget about it. Items 1 through 18 are not a one-time purchase event. They are a living system that requires rotation, maintenance, and practice. Rice and beans get used and replaced on a first-in, first-out basis, so nothing expires untouched. Your water storage gets treated and rotated every 6 to 12 months depending on the container material. Your first aid kit gets audited twice a year, expired medications removed, depleted supplies restocked. Your fire starting gear gets tested, not just stored. Your documents get updated when your circumstances change. A stockpile that sits untouched for 5 years is not a survival plan. It is anxiety in boxes collecting dust. Here is what I know with absolute certainty. When a grid failure hits a major region and it becomes clear this is not a 3-day inconvenience but something permanent, There will be roughly 72 hours of relative calm. People will be confused, not yet panicked. Stores will be crowded but not dangerous. And then, somewhere between hour 72 and hour 168, the math of food supply becomes undeniable to everyone who did nothing. That is when the behavior changes. That is when the person who was your pleasant neighbor for 6 years becomes a different kind of calculation entirely. I am not telling you to treat everyone around you as an enemy. I am telling you that people who have nothing, facing the prospect of watching their children go hungry, will make decisions that are entirely rational from their perspective and entirely dangerous from yours. Your stockpile is a resource. Operational security matters from day one. This does not mean you become a hermit or abandon your community. It means you are strategic about who knows what you have and in what quantity. It means your window coverings matter in the first week. It means your verbal communication during the initial crisis period matters more than most people think. The household that looks empty and unremarkable gets passed over. The household that looks stocked gets targeted. That is human behavior. It does not change because the lights went out. Let us run the actual numbers on what this costs. Not theoretically, actually. Your water storage at 60 gallons for a family of 4, using food-grade containers and a quality gravity filter, runs you between $150 and $250 depending on the filter system you choose. Your core food supply, rice, beans, canned protein, oil, salt, covering 3 months at reasonable caloric density, runs between $300 and $400 if you build it incrementally rather than panic buying in one overwhelming trip. Your first aid kit, built properly with real trauma supplies rather than a drugstore box, runs $100 to $150. Your light and communication gear, headlamps, hand crank radio, spare batteries, maybe $75 total. Cash reserve, document container, hand tools, seed kit, sanitation supplies, add another $200 to $300 for the complete picture. We are talking about $800 to $1,200 total, built over several months, to create a survival infrastructure for an entire household. You spend more than that on things you do not remember buying, every single year. Here is the dark truth that closes everything out. These 18 items do not make you invincible. There is no combination of supplies and skills that guarantees survival. A grid failure severe enough and long enough will eventually test limits that no stockpile can fully address. Disease, violence, structural failure of society's remaining institutions, these are real variables that exist outside your basement walls. Preparation improves your odds. It does not eliminate risk. What these items do is buy you time. Time to adapt. Time to form alliances. Time to learn what you did not know before. Time to make decisions from a position of strength rather than desperation. The household that runs out of food in 72 hours makes completely different choices than the household that has 3 months of supply and a functioning water system. That gap in decision quality is the survival advantage. It is not everything, but it is the difference between better odds and no odds at all. Here's your choice right now. You can close this video, go back to your normal evening, and tell yourself you will start prepping next month. 99% of people watching this will do exactly that. Or you can open a new tab right now and start building your list. Not all 18 items, just the first 3. Water storage, filtration, rice. Start there tonight. Map the hardware stores and grocery stores within 5 miles of your home. Note which ones are likely to still have supply after the initial panic buying wave hits. Identify your water sources, creeks, retention ponds, community pools, within 2 miles of your location. Write your family communications plan tonight on paper and put it somewhere every family member knows to look. These are not theoretical exercises. These are the first operational steps of a household that survives what most households will not. The 1% who think about this is a larger group than you might expect. The 0.1% who actually act on it, that is your real peer group. That is who makes it through the first month, the first winter, the first year after the grid goes permanently dark. You are either building toward that reality or you are not. There is no middle ground when the lights go out for good. Subscribe if you are part of the 0.1%. Drop a comment with the first item you are buying this week. Your move.